Accessing SDE Archive Entry Victor Sierra -1. Access granted. Presenting entry.
What is up, my fellow space engineers of the world? Today, we will be diving back into the SDE archives to cover the most cost-effective vessels in the entire Viharian Imperial Navy, the Viharian Heavy Corvette and Fighter. The Alpha class Heavy Corvette was the first Viharian warship built in Vihar's history, constructed for the purpose of conquest and naval dominance. After the beginning of the First Viharian War with the Bendali in the year 2410, the Ritsa-class fighter was built soon after to combat the Bendali Naval Corps' own complement of snub fighters. This dynamic duo would be responsible for multiple victories in the 100-year Viharian Wars, including the Battle of Hell's Wrath, the Waves of Victory campaign, the Battle for Fire's Mercy, and many others. The Alpha-class Heavy Corvette would go and serve the Viharian Imperial Navy as a flagship role until the late years of the Viharian War with the Bendali, where larger vessels were required to finish the war. It would then serve its navy as an escort, scout, and defense role for the rest of its service until 2520, when it was taken out of service entirely, where it was replaced with a more modern vessel to serve the same roles. The Ritsa-class fighter continues to serve the Viharian Imperial Navy as its primary anti-fighter role to this day. However, the fighter did go through a retrofit the same year as its counterpart was recalled to equip it with a Darkstar-class shield generator to get with the times. This makes the Ritsa-class fighter the oldest vessel used by the Imperial Navy, proving its effectiveness in battle. Now that their general history is complete, we will move on to the specific details of the ships themselves. And, just like the last archives, we will start it off with their measurements. The Alpha-class Heavy Corvette wears its name well due to its size, For the vessel had a length of 68.2 meters across its centerline, or the longest point on the ship, and a width of 48.6 meters across its beam, or the widest point on the ship. And with its weight of 1,456.8 metric tons, this ship was considered the largest corvette used by any navy at the time, and was almost considered as a light cruiser for humanity for a while. However, the Ritze-class fighter is extremely small for a fighter, and could even be considered an interceptor, for it is only exactly 10 meters across its centerline and 5.6 meters across its beam, in addition to its small weight of 25.7 metric tons. But don't think its size means it's a weak target. Its smaller size only makes it harder to hit with the right pilot. Because of the starfighter's size, it allowed it to achieve impressive accelerations of 17 meters per second forward and negative 6.61 meters per second backwards. This allows the Ritze to outrun any other starfighter, and even give interceptors a run for their money. Even though the Alpha is big for a corvette, it was able to achieve impressive accelerations of 9.57 meters per second forward and negative 8.65 meters per second backwards. Its speed may not be fast compared to other corvettes, but considering its size, its acceleration is still impressive. The Alpha-class heavy corvette and the Ritze-class fighter had very simple power sources compared to other ships in the archives, with the heavy corvette possessing 8 nuclear fusion reactors, which produced a total output of 120 megawatts, which could power 400 to 900 small homes today for a whole year. The fighter had 10 small nuclear fusion reactors that had a total output of 3,000 kilowatts. Even though these power outputs were small compared to other vessels in the archive, it was more than enough to power their weapons, shields, and other key systems aboard. Speaking of shields, the Alpha-class heavy corvette and the Ritze-class fighter both possessed a unique type of shielding. These ships had energy shield generators, which operated by projecting electric current throughout the outer hull of the ship to absorb the impact of any incoming projectiles. This essentially works like an energy armor of sorts that works well against energy weapons. The Alpha-class heavy corvette had its shield health at 140,000 HP. Meanwhile, the Ritze-class fighter had only 3,500 shield HP. This way of producing a shield for the ship differs from the Darkstar shield generators that we've seen in prior vessels. The Darkstar shield generator ejects a literal shield of plasma around the ship to absorb the impact of both energy-based and kinetic-based projectiles. Even though their defensive capabilities could be considered lacking, they more than made up for it with their offensive capabilities. The Viharians gave their ships a mixture of both kinetic-based and energy-based weapons. This can be shown on the heavy corvette, which had one M240 strike cannon, which is a kinetic-based weapon, in addition to energy weapons that consist of 2 M98-T focused beam turrets, 6 M45 combat laser turrets, and for more kinetic weapons, it was equipped with 2 fixed unguided rocket launchers at the front of the vessel. The fighter also had a good offensive with its 2 fixed PL4-S pulse lasers, and for kinetic weapons, 2 fixed unguided rocket launchers. The Ritze-class fighter took 1 pilot in order to fly. In addition, the Alpha-class heavy corvette could staff 5 crew, but could also carry 2 additional passengers if needed. And the Alpha had the capability of traveling an average distance of 1,715 kilometers with its jump drive, which was standard at the time. The Viharians purposely built their heavy corvette and fighter as cheap as they could, so that they could mass produce them and overwhelm their enemy with numbers alone. Because of this choice, the Alpha-class heavy corvette costs 250,000 space credits to produce, which would cost about $2.5 billion today. The Ritze-class fighter costs 1,500 space credits to make, which would equal to about $15 million today. And that is all the information the SDE archives have on the Viharian heavy corvette and starfighter. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to play with these ships yourself on Space Engineers, the link to the Steam Workshop where you can download these ships are down below in the description. Also remember to like, comment, subscribe, you know the thing. And this is Director Sam signing off. See you guys next time.